Welcome to the Daily Edge. Steve, Jake, Mark, we are the Noodlebergs. Let's find our edge. Who's got the affirmation?
I got today's affirmation. My habits define my future. Today, I choose actions that lead to excellence.
Ooh, so you have the topic also.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me be honest with you. What a ridiculous comment.
Is honesty a habit that leads to excellence?
Jake?
Is honesty a habit that leads to excellence? Not necessarily. I don't think that being honest with everybody and everything necessarily gets you to success, right? I think it's very industry dependent. I think it's situationally dependent. But I think what our father really wants to talk about is why everybody says to be honest with you.
Well,
why is it a qualifier?
Why must you tell me that you've been lying to me for the last 3 weeks?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm like, what? It's just so off-putting to me.
How did you get to this?
Yeah.
When did this start being a real, I'm going to call it grind your gears type of thing?
So I'm a guy that likes to pay attention to words. I think words matter. I like people who have a good vocabulary that makes me interested and
words
intrigued.
do matter, right?
And so when you say to me, like, I'm taking for granted that you're bringing honesty and integrity to the party until you say, well, to be honest with you. And when I tell people this, I have a very specific example. Thank you, Sean Flood. I was coaching him. He was in a very high level conversation with a company that they was going to get funded by. And he used that term. And I said, dude, you went off the rails. You just planted that seed of doubt where if you change the word to, can I be transparent with you? Or can I be candid with you? Wow, people, now that's an emotion that they can embrace, but it's off-putting when you say
So
honest.
I think this hits on another topic, which is the fact that communication skills suck.
Yes.
People don't know how to communicate.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
And so everybody wants to qualify what they're saying, right? Everybody wants the words to use super, or everybody wants to build all their sentences with filler words. And so for some reason we feel the need to say, well, to be honest with you, because that somehow makes the words less harmful or easier to say, which is bullshit. You just need to know how to communicate clearly with somebody. And that is the point of being honest. So that leads you to being honest.
It's really hard being the son of a life coach, a business coach, an executive coach, because you find yourself in conversations with people my age and they'll say, oh, to be honest with you, and I go, have you been fucking lying to me? And they're like, what are you, an asshole? And I'm like, damn.
You asked the question though, and when you started, you went down a road. The genesis of this for me was when Mark was talking and he said something. You said something about people aren't even honest with themselves.
Right.
That's where it starts. I mean, people will tell us stuff that we know is not real.
Well,
you didn't do that.
Is it always good to be honest with yourself if you don't have the ability to deal with it right away? If that makes any sense to you guys.
I think it's crucial to be honest with yourself. I don't think there's any
Adam
substitute.
Grant posted, the healthy, there's a healthy time to process stress or nervousness, and that necessarily doing that in the moment doesn't serve you very well, that it actually derails you far more. And it's important to put that into a place that you then have time to deal with it. And I'm curious, is that the same as being honest with yourself?
I think they're actually two different things, right? I think accepting the reality of the moment is being honest with yourself. If for something or you're walking into something,
right?
You're walking into a moment that is much bigger than you've ever been in. Could be a championship scenario, could be a presentation in front of a large group of people, could be stepping on stage to do a talk to somebody, could be any of those scenarios that there are nerves and there are a lot of things that are obstacles to your success. I think that's what Adam Grant is talking about. Now, the moment before you step on stage, not the moment to be like, hey, I'm really nervous and I think I need to deal with these feelings. You need to compartmentalize that and focus on what you need to do to perform. That's still being honest with yourself. It's just not diving into those feelings. Being realistic with where you're at and what's happening, does not mean that you have to allow that to derail what happens from there. But honesty with yourself and being real, I think, is a non-negotiable.
Jake, you're in the gym, right? You tell people to do stuff when they're not in the gym with you, right? And you can tell whether they do or don't. So to lie to yourself and say, yeah, I'm doing it. No, you're not doing it.
I love the, do you want me to be your friend or do you want me to be your coach?
Yeah.
Like, and that's almost the permission of, I don't mean to offend you, but I need to know what kind of relationship you want from me. And that's obviously in a leadership or a coaching relationship, you know, or even in a personal relationship. It goes back, who do you want me to be for you right now? And who do you need? And I think it's hard to flip that switch and not be mean, rude, you know, or come off in that way. And you really need to really own that relationship and know how it works in order to be that.
Two separate topics. One, being honest with yourself. Another one, being honest with other people. Right? Being honest with other people, part of it is you have to earn the right to be honest with somebody and deliver critical feedback.
Critical. Yes, I agree.
But there is no reason that you should ever avoid the truth with somebody, because you're not doing anybody a service that way. So when you tell me, well, to be honest with you, all that does is tell me that you're not willing to tell me the truth sometimes, that you are going to dance around it, you're going to avoid it, and that this is the one moment that you decided. So now for me, I'm looking at you going, well, what haven't you told me? Tell me more about the feedback that you haven't given me, or the topics you've avoided, because now all of a sudden you're being honest with me, which is a major breakdown in communication for any relationship. A leadership relationship, a personal relationship, it doesn't matter. Anywhere where you are dealing with another human being, if that's your qualifier, you've now broken all trust with me and anything else that you've said prior.
When you said coach or friend, you know, I always address it when I hear it. And I said, I have a coaching moment. Are you willing to listen? Not one time has anybody said, oh my God, I didn't even realize I was doing that. You know, like 3-4 times in a conversation, they keep saying, to be honest with you. The minute I pointed out to them, I've never had like, well, that's what I meant to say.
Right.
Everybody says, ooh, wow, that's a good point. And then I give them, use the word transparent. Can I be transparent with you? Yeah. You know, I want to come from the heart, you know, that changes the relationship you have with somebody, because I don't want to know that you're not honest with me.
We talk about this in our negotiation course, right? Like, part of addressing the elephant in the room is addressing the elephant in the room. And instead of saying like, ooh, this may be hard for you to hear, or, you know, this is difficult for me to hear, you can say, this is going to hurt you. When you address the reality, when you're honest with somebody and say, this is going to be hard to hear. Not this might be, not no qualifier, no dance around, directly to, this is going to be hard to hear. Now I'm already, I'm embracing that moment of, okay, you're going to tell me something. And then when it lands, never lands as hard as it would have, is if you didn't tell me first, if you weren't clear and direct with me prior to that. So I think as we talk about, okay, well, if I shouldn't be saying, let me be honest with you, and there's good words for me to use in terms of like, can I be candid? Or the other part is to just address it directly and say, I'm going to tell you something that's hard for you to hear.
Well, I'm going to challenge you on that, because I think you said not being honest doesn't serve anybody, and I'm going to challenge you on that. Like, I'll give you a for instance.
This could be a good one.
I can't wait.
Challenge
accepted.
You know, no, and I want to walk through a real life example. Somebody sends me a video of them making a video, or they send me the finished product, right?
Yep.
And it's an executively produced video. It's already been made. It can't be changed, blah, 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 blah. She wasn't necessarily looking for feedback. I have that feedback that can help her, right? And in that moment, she's looking for a pat on the back. Great job. Even though there are some things that I wish I could tell her.
I have an answer for you.
And in that moment, how do you balance? Because I will be totally transparent. I was very nice, and I got the response, thanks for not shitting on my life for once. And I was like, okay, let me own that for a second. Yeah. I am brutally honest. It's the environment I come from.
Yeah.
Football coaches.
Critical.
That's critical. Everything was critical. Every little thing I did, the football world, my football coaches, that was the commitment to excellence that we have for ourselves. Other people don't have that.
Yeah.
How do you? Because I did it out of the love. I didn't do it from a place and never do of saying I want to shit on your life. But how do you do it?
You do both. And go ahead.
So I had put together this list of things that are a master's degree in life.
I didn't look at her and say, to be honest, this sucks. Just support that.
One of the things I talked about, that if you want to be successful in life, radical candor.
Yeah.
I just let people know, listen, if you're looking for me to like sugarcoat it, you got the wrong guy. I want you to be ready to receive.
You can
Wonder
see
where it came from.
Wonder where it came from.
I think if you're asking me, then you know that I'm going to help you get better. My commitment is not to go, I'm not shitting on you. That's a mindset
there
thing.
are some
I want you to
people,
get better.
There are some people who can take that direct feedback and they can hear through it. Anybody who's ever made it through the military will tell you that that's the way they were coached. Yeah, that's the way they were led. Works. Anybody who has ever led with an authoritarian leader, that's the way and made it through that leadership. That's the way they led. That's the way they were conditioned to work through. It doesn't work for everybody, particularly in the business world and in a place where it's a not as competitive environment and there's other factors. So something I learned from being at different levels of ball, right? Like when you're at Florida State and Florida, the most important thing is to win football games. There's not even a question for anybody in the building. Everybody knows.
We won't be here.
When you're at Lafayette College, those kids aren't there to play football. Those kids are there to go to Wall Street.
It's a different mindset.
And they're there playing football as a part of their experience. I can't be that same communicator in that scenario as I was at Florida State and Florida. You just can't.
Commitment is different.
The commitment is different.
But wait, so you guys, I love the fact that you were in sports, because in sports, there's an instant feedback loop. I'm watching a film. It doesn't lie, man.
But how you deliver that feedback is different. So for me, when I'm at Lafayette, right, and I'm trying to get people to buy into what I want them to do, but I also need to critique them because it's not good enough, the first thing I do is celebrate the behavior. And I'm like, hey, great job with the video. I can't, you know what? You're even better than 90% of people because you did a video. Right. Here's some feedback for you that could take it to another level. Here's some stuff that from working with other people, I could show you.
It's the carrot and the stick.
Hey, right. I'm showing you.
It's the carrot and the stick.
How you deliver the message.
I'm going to support the fact that you actually did the behavior, because if all I do is shit on you, you're not going to do it again. You're not going to go back to it. And now I've hurt you more than I've harmed you.
You know, working for a leadership coaching company, you see it come out in your own, leadership meetings. Yeah. Like Mark I'll send something to Mark and he'll come back with, love this, but do this. And I was like, you can't play the playbook on me, bro.
But wait, if you're going to be honest with yourself and want to get better, then you need to have aggressive feedback.
I want to talk about...
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be aggressive up front.
I want to talk about this.
You can say, this is awesome that you did it. Here's what I need from you.
You said they shouldn't come to me because they know who I am, right? And I would challenge that and tell you the best leaders, the best performers are able to morph who they are to different people. And I think...
Morph their communication, not who they are.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
But that's already up front. That's happened up front.
Look at Tom Brady. There's a reason he can deal with owners all the way down to the lowest guy on the football field. Right. Yeah. And if you watch, and Mark, I want you to talk about it because you were so in tune with when he went to the Tampa Bay Bucks and took over that team and the way he talked to Leonard Fournette and Mike Evans versus the center versus the head coaches.
It was just a master class in leadership because we deal with leaders who are taking over new organizations all the time, stepping into a new role, particularly if you come from a place where you've had lots of success. Your reputation follows you before or leads through the door before you even get there. So people have a lot of expectations about who you are and the way you communicate and the way you operate because they've seen or heard bits or clips from other places. And when you watched what he did at Tampa and you watched the way he communicated with Leonard Fournette, who is a very different human being than Rob Gronkowski. And when you watch the way he talked to those guys in the locker room, when you watch the way he talked to the equipment managers versus the assistant coaches versus the owners in the box, he didn't change who he was. He changed the way he communicated to match that of the audience, which is the ultimate superpower in leadership, in persuasion, in anything you need to do in order to get other people to buy in and act. That is a key differentiator.
So no surprise that Tom Brady, as an owner of the Raiders, brought in Pete Carroll. Why? Because Pete Carroll, way back when, said, the way I manage people is not equal, fair, but not equal.
Yes.
So to your point, you need to adjust. And I'm going to treat the quarterback different than I'm going to treat.
Go for it.
And speaking directly to that, fair and not equal, that's honesty all the time.
All the time.
All the time,
right.
Not some of the time. Now, if I know that you come from a background where you have never really dealt with authoritative leaders before in your life, you've never dealt with any kind of leadership, you've kind of been in control of your life, you're going to balk the first time you get held accountable.
Big time.
So if I lead with the stick for that person, I probably lose them forever. They never come back to me. But if I understand that about them and I'm able to go, hey, I see you trying and I'm so appreciative of the effort, but I got to tell you, we got to improve it. I'm telling you the same thing. I'm telling you it's not good enough. I'm telling you need to improve. I'm just saying it in a way different way than I would say to the dude who came out of the Marines that if I could tell you it's not good enough and it needs to be better right now. It's the same message. It's being said two different ways.
I think the ultimate depiction of leadership and honesty was a story we just had. We were fortunate leveraging one of his old connects to go to the Phoenix Suns game. And I was blanking on his name, honestly.
Doug Chisholm,
who is the VP of brand, partnerships for Phoenix Suns. And he gave us a tour and was giving us a little insight of the new owner, Matt Nishiba, taking over. And if you don't know who Matt Nishiba is, definitely look him up. One of the most aggressive young owners. And on a side note, the best story that he has was he named the Michigan State football facility after the basketball coach because he played basketball there. So if you want to talk about honesty,
I don't care what you think.
But Doug was telling us a story about him coming in and saying, hey, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't want you looking over your shoulder. I'm not here to fire you. I'm going to be honest with you and tell you what we're going to do going forward.
Right.
I am going to put fuel on your fire.
Yep.
Right. And I'm going to bring some of my people in. This is how we're going to go about it. And if this is not for you, get off the bus.
Yep. That expectation was set up front.
Yep.
When I coach somebody, I set the expectation up front. Honestly. Do you want to get better? If you want to get better, I need to be totally candid with you to get better. Yep. Now that delivery I think I've always been told tone and can change, but the reality is you either want to hear it or you don't want to hear it.
I think there's a very small percentage of people who want to hear criticism.
Right. I agree.
That's the top 1%.
But when you get people and all of the greats that you guys talk about and that you've coached and the people I deal with know the only way to get better is to listen to the feedback, to listen to the critical. Nick Saban was there to help you get better. Now he did it in a way early on where he yelled and screamed. He talked.
Yeah, he might have been too honest.
He's a maniac.
Right, he was a maniac. He just talked about this in recent podcasts where he said, look, over the years, I learned to temper it a little bit more. But, Don Shula, who I was fortunate enough to work with.
What was the Channing Tatum, or not Channing Crowder? The one where he's in the bathroom?
Wife? Yeah, right.
Where he's like,
the story is, so he walks into the bathroom, right? And Nick Saban's in the bathroom, and he's an NFL player. For those of you who don't know the story, right? Channing Crowder is an NFL linebacker. He walks into the bathroom for the Miami Dolphins. He walks into the bathroom where the head coach is, and he asks him about his wife. Channing asks him about Coach Saban's wife. He says, how's Miss Terry doing? And he goes, he should be a lot fucking better if you could cover the back on third down.
And that's a real story of honest candor.
Right.
And you know what? Channing respected it, loved it. They that podcast has guys that he, coached and, so.
He didn't start it with, to be honest with.
Yeah, no, he didn't say to be honest with you. No. Right. He just delivered it straight. But also, if you listen to Nick Saban's journey as a leader, as you were talking about, right, he also knew the guys who could take it and couldn't take it. And even if he delivered it to you that way in front of everybody, he was also quick to circle back and put his arm around you and go, hey, I need you to
That's-
understand why I'm doing this. I
Which is
need
what he said to Ryan Clark.
which
Yeah,
is
right.
which there's a difference, right? Coaching people in a one-on-one setting inside of an office and coaching the team in the pit, two very different things, right? Coaching the entire unit in front of the team meeting room is very different than coaching the back in the office with him. Same thing for sales leaders. Coaching the pit, coaching all of the sellers at the same time in the group, very different than coaching somebody one-on-one. So you have to be an unbelievable leader. You got to manage all of the different communication levers, and you got to understand all the different scenarios so that you know how to get the most out of every individual all the time.
I think honesty is at every level of your life, whatever hat you're wearing. If you are an honest person, you're going to be open to saying and hearing things different than like, hey, listen, you want to lose weight? You can't eat donuts, man.
Right.
Sorry, man, it's not going to work.
So,
and I'm not going to tell you that it's good.
So the edge for this episode is honesty and understanding how to be honest with yourself and how to be honest with others. Not whether you should or shouldn't be, but how to be honest with yourself and others, because that will be the thing that leads you to success.
And for the love of Steve Middleberg, stop using that sentence.
Thank you guys for joining the show. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, find your edge with us. We'll see you next time.